Even though we won't get to celebrate Halloween the way we're used to this weekend, you won't have to worry because there's one place where you can go and celebrate Halloween all year round.
Yeah, it comes complete with haunted castles, spooky spirits that date back more than 3,000 years. So joining us this morning with a bit of a history lesson for you, okay, of Halloween is Travelzoo Editor Gabe Saglie. So welcome back to the Pixar More News, Gabe.
Hey
Thank
guys,
you for being here.
Happy Halloween.
Gabe,
Happy
usually
Halloween.
you're taking us somewhere really warm and tropical, but today
Yeah.
we're going history. You've been traveling to Ireland for the last couple of years to, I guess, trace the history of Halloween.
Hey, listen, we've been heading out there for the last decade to cover St. Patrick's Day, but for the last 2 years, during this time, we've been going out there to discover now the consensus is the origin of Halloween. The first, what would have been called Samhain back then, the Celtic word for summer's end, but the ceremony, that hill you're seeing right there, the Hill of Ward, I visited for the first time 2 years ago, and through archaeological digs, through carbon dating of remains that have been found there, and through a ton of storytelling over many generations, this has been now determined to be where the first Samhain ceremony,
What does that mean?
as Halloween, would have. Well, Samhain means summer's end. So what happened back 3,000 years ago is that October 31st was the end of the calendar year, the end of summer, the beginning of winter. People had harvested all their crops, and we were about to start hunkering down for the winter months. But that October 31st night was considered to be the night when the veil between our world and the other world was at its thinnest, meaning that a lot of spirits could sort of cross back and forth. And that's basically now been embraced by the Irish.
So did you feel any of those spirits when you stood at that spot?
Well, it's a beautiful spot. It's about 40 miles sort of northwest of Dublin. And you're on this spot and you really are seeing as far as the eye can see 360 degrees. And they would light these bonfires back then across these hills to sort of signal the fact that, hey, it's October 31st, it's the end of the calendar year, and we're celebrating the bounty of the harvest and now getting ready for winter. But we're also looking out for spirits that may be moving in from the beyond.
So pumpkins weren't also, I'm a big pumpkin fan, if anybody has never wondered.
Never knew that.
But what, they didn't used to only carve pumpkins, they used to carve something else?
So it used to be turnips. Okay, so what happened, they would
family.
carve these turnips. And then, these bonfires, they would gather these embers and these turnips, and that would light their way back home. And then they would become decorations in the windows. Now, when the Irish immigrated to the U.S., turnips are a little tougher to carve and not as plentiful as pumpkins in the U.S., so we basically switched that tradition to now carving pumpkins for Halloween. Also, the mask concept, because this idea was that spirits were sort of coming in through that veil into this world, masks were worn as a way to sort of ward off and confuse these mischievous spirits. And that's why this concept of wearing a mask for Halloween was born. And then trick-or-treating, because it was the end of harvest and everybody's pantries were full, kids would go around door to door and say, hey, could we have a taste of those apples, taste of those turnips? This idea that we were asking our neighbors for a little treat of what
I don't
just
think I've
had been
ever asked
harvested.
my neighbor if I want to taste
Can I
the
try your
turnip.
turnip? Let me try your turnip.
Yeah, the
turnips
healthy
with it.
Halloween started 3,000 years ago.
Yeah.
I gotta tell you though, this is just blowing my mind because so many times we, think about Halloween and Transylvania and all these other traditions, and yet you're saying no, none of that's true. This is where it started in Ireland, which is really crazy. So for folks who are trying to celebrate back here at home, right? There's more than 400 haunted castles that they can, if they can't get there, can you see some of these online?
Yeah, so that's the thing. There's a variety of festivals. Puka Festival that started last year. Derry Halloween up in Northern Ireland, considered by USA Today one of the biggest and best Halloween parties in the world. There's the Bram Stoker Festival in Dublin. They're on hold or virtual this year. But yeah, a lot of haunted castles. So this is Galley Castle Hotel. This was a 200-year-old building in Northern Ireland. I stayed here. It's a hotel now.
Wow.
But it's purported, there it is today, purportedly haunted because in that tower at the very top, the man of the house imprisoned his wife because she would not bear him a son.
What?
And in her grief, she jumped off that tower. And to this day, you can hear her wailing, calling out for the son.
this
So you
story.
stayed there? Did you hear any of the wailing?
Yeah,
I didn't hear or see anything, but I got to tell you, you go up to that very top tower, you can actually visit that room.
Spooky.
Yeah, it's a little eerie.
Yeah.
Everything quiets down. It's something, the ambiance is definitely spooky.
Well,
for sure.
yeah, I mean, when you get into an old castle like that, I don't even need to know that it's haunted for it to
True,
turn the
right?
lights off, and I would be a little spooked out. OG would never go anywhere
Yeah.
near it. Professor Saglie, what are you doing later today, this afternoon, to give out the history of Halloween?
So listen, we were there live last year. This year we're there virtual. Okay, so at 2 o'clock this afternoon on Travelzoo's Facebook page, we're taking a virtual road trip across Ireland, visiting the Hill of Ward that we just showed you, talking to folklore experts. We'll even interview a witch Yeah, that's happening at 2 o'clock. Our sort of virtual road trip through Ireland, the
Wow.
home of Halloween.
You left the
love
best
it.
part for last, interviewing a witch. Where do you
Yeah.
find these people?
Winifred, she's quite a fascinating character. You're going to love her. Winifred the Witch.
Winifred the witch.
We have
Winifred.
special relationships, you know.
Oh, okay.
What kind of relationship?
Well,
Are we going to be getting invitations sometime soon?
You'll have to tune in.
Just so you know, I can marry people. I'm an ordained minister.
I hear this. Okay,
Yes.
well, let me talk to my wife. And see what kind of arrangement
That would be
we come up with.
problematic.
I mean, you know, rules are bent on Halloween. Let's be
That's very
frank.
true.
All
Gabe,
right.
thank you.
Thanks for joining us.
All right, guys, happy Halloween.
You
Happy
too.